are back for another Milk Crate moment. Now, before we get started today with my special guest, Dort Pritchett, I want to make sure that you know about the Second Act Conference coming up October 25th to the 27th in Glen Ellen, Illinois. It is a live, in-person business strategy, business marketing, business growth, money making, wealth making, health making, right? Everything for that businesswoman over 50. So I'm really excited today to talk to Dort Pritchett, one of my friends who we've known each other for a while, right? We've never met in person, but we have met through social. Maybe we did meet in person
We
once.
did at Take the Stage.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, I met her. But she's one of the women that's going to be at the Second Act Conference because this event is geared toward women like Dort and like myself in our second act. And listen, we're kicking ass right now. We don't have any time to waste. So I don't want to waste another minute. I want to introduce you right now to Dort Pritchett. Dort, welcome to Milk Crate Moment. How are you?
Thank you. I am fabulous. It's great to be here. Thank you, Jean.
Oh, you're so welcome. So what we're going to do is like I always start with is what is your Milk Crate moment?
Well, I think we've talked about at this point, we've all had hundreds. For me, the most recent and probably the most impactful and just kicking my ass into gear was really a couple of years realizing that while I have a really rich life and I really love it, it is just not the life I'm always getting teary, but it's just not the life I felt inspired to live. Even though it was a beautiful life. So I've always had this sense, there's just more, there's just more, there's just more. And what I really realized a couple of years ago is the more is really stepping into this, like working with women, working in this transformational way, because there's a lot of women my age that we're on the short end of the stick now. And so, yeah. It's really coming to that realization. There's not a lot of time, but there's still a lot of life.
And you know what? That is exactly why we wrote that song, right? I don't know. Have you listened to the song?
I've listened to it a dozen times.
I listen to it daily almost. And it is exactly that piece there is like, once you get past that 50 and a lot of people don't even stop and think about it, right? They don't stop and think about the fact that they're in their second act. When you look at it and you stop and you're like, am I still going to be doing this at 100? Probably not. Most of us, I don't know what the average age group, but isn't it, we always hear about the person who lived to 100, right? Yeah. You don't hear about the person who lived to 96, 97. And by that time, they're probably not working anymore. Right. So I feel like you do, Dort, that in our second act, we have got to make every stinking minute count. So now I really want you to go a little bit more in depth and tell me a little bit more about that Milk Crate moment when you said about, I'm not sure I got the whole, what that was. So when you said you had to make that decision, why was that a difficult decision?
I don't think my Milk Crate moments, Jean, have actually been prompted by difficulty.
What are they prompted by? That's a great, I'm glad to hear that. So what are they prompted by?
I think they're prompted more about when life has sort of fallen into that lull for me. And then I'm a little freer. I'm just freer. I think that's what happens. I don't know any other way to say it. So if I'm in trauma and drama and everything is a mess, I really can't think outside of a pretty small box. But when that calm happens is when my box gets really big. And so, yeah, so I don't know that it was any one thing. I mean, I had been on a year-long medicine wheel journey that may mean nothing to you, but it's just this deep, deep dive into really what is the purpose you came into this life for?
Okay, so let's talk about that because I think that's really interesting there because I think a lot of people go through their entire lives and they never know the reason they were put here, right? Yeah. I found mine at 27, 28 years old. I knew what my purpose was to help small business owners make more money. I didn't even know how to do that for myself at 26, 27, but I knew it was my purpose. I felt like it was just a God-given gift.
Mhm.
When you found your purpose, how did that all come to be that you said that right there, you found the reason you're here?
I don't, oh boy, it would be so simple if there was one thing. So I've been in this industry since 1999. And I just, something would happen and it would throw me off course, and something would happen. So in 1999, I started a business called Women Empowering Women. So I've known, I just couldn't quite get all the shit out of the way, I guess, for me. And some of that was my own personal garbage. So something would get in the way and I'd jump ship and I'd take another path. So, I don't know what exactly changed now that I'm not jumping. I mean, I'm just jumping on the ship that's moving exactly to where I want to go. So I think a part
Wait a
of
minute, hold on a minute. How do you know? So that's what I'm curious about is you're like, I'm going from here and I'm just almost like I can kind of picture like a little river that's got rocks in it. And you're like there rocks are all over, but you don't want to get wet. So you jump from rock to rock.
yeah,
So you
yeah,
said, so you want to just jump ship to the one that is on the path that you're on. How do you know that?
because it lights me up.
Okay. That I
It
get.
makes my heart sing.
So, all right. So now we're in 1999 and you're on this path.
Mhm.
Okay. And where does that path lead you?
Oh my gosh. It leads me to working in chemical dependency treatment. It leads me to working in social work, all things that are helpful, right?
Mhm.
But they're just not quite it. Led me into body work, which certainly is helpful. But always over here on the side, I'm doing something with women. I'm doing a retreat. I'm seeing clients. I have a program. I'm doing something.
Mhm.
And I just couldn't say no anymore
So say no to what?
to my passion and my purpose. So it was either a yes, and it was a resounding yes, or what, or what, or what, or settling for a mediocre life, which I just wasn't meant for.
Okay. I love that. So now I'm going to just continue to ask questions here. So when you said you settling for a mediocre life, what did that mean? What would that have looked like compared to where you're at now? Had you settled?
It would have just meant going to a job that paid the bills, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, really, going to a job that paid the bills.
And don't you
Always having this nagging, what are you doing? Why aren't you over here living your dream? Yeah.
So, what do you say to women? So, that's really interesting. So, what do you say to women when they're caught up in that mediocrity and they're just, oh my God, it's so many people. Even Earl
Yeah.
Nightingale talks about this, right? 95 out of 100 people settle for mediocrity. They get up, they do the same thing over and over and over. They get up, they go to work, they come home, they have dinner, they watch TV, they go to bed, they get up, they go to work, they go, right? It's this not never ending hamster wheel,
Hmm.
right? What do you say to women when you find them on that hamster wheel in a life of mediocrity?
Typically, my first question is whether they are happy in their life. Not are they content? Are they joyful? Are they joyful? And most of the time, people know enough to differentiate that, and
Mhm.
they're almost always not. And so then, quite often, Jean, it really becomes quite a process of untangling. It isn't just, okay, you're not happy, so let's step into where you are. There's so much untangling and unwinding usually to do. I know that men are conditioned just like women are, but we are so conditioned to settle, to be happy with what we have, to be just grateful for whatever comes. And that's all beautiful, right? But that's not passion.
No, It's not. And I love what you said there too. And I'd seen a meme about that, right? Someone else is happy with what you have, almost as if it's shaming you for wanting more, right?
Yes.
If someone else is happy with what you have, good for them because I'm really blessed and they should be happy if they had what I had. But that doesn't mean that I should settle for what I have. And
Mhm.
I think that's where you're going with this,
Mhm.
right? Is
Yeah.
that you didn't want to settle anymore. Am I reading you right?
Yep. I couldn't. It wasn't even about not wanting to. I couldn't. I felt like my soul, excuse me, was just going to drag me there if I didn't willingly go
So
to living.
what did it look like for you to settle? Had you settled? Like what would that have looked like for you settling? And then I want to contrast that with where when you decided to you're a lifetime learner, right? You take classes, you invest in yourself, you are constantly learning a new modality or something else other to empower women. So what
I'm
would
a
that have
personal
looked
growth
like?
junkie.
Pardon me?
I'm a personal growth junkie.
Oh, me too. Me too. But you are constantly doing that. So it makes me wonder, curious, so what that would have looked like if you'd settled.
Oh my gosh. I think I'd want to hang myself. Um, what would it have looked like? I just would have been miserable. I don't know what it would have looked like. I don't even want to give too much thought to what it would look like,
Okay,
but it
that's
would
fair. I
just,
get that.
I would have been miserable. I would have been miserable.
And I
And
think
it's miserable and just going through days not quite alive.
yeah. And
Ugh.
I think a lot of people, especially women, live that life,
They
right?
do.
And I think that that's actually why there's more divorces now than ever, is that women will put up with so much these days, and then when they're done, and
Yeah.
they move on and part of that is their fault, right, for not putting maybe a little bit more effort into a marriage or something. But part of it is also their spouse's fault for understanding that they came from a mom who didn't want what their wife wants.
Mhm. Wait, say that again.
So the men grew up in a family era where mom was happy
Yeah.
to stay home and take care of the kids, and or if she worked it was a part-time job. Mom
Mhm.
wasn't really an entrepreneur for the most part.
Yeah.
20, 30 years ago, even let's say 30 years ago, right? Mom was not an
Yeah.
entrepreneur. She was home. She was taking care of the kids. She put everybody else ahead of herself, always, right?
Mhm.
And they were used to that.
Right.
And now the guys grow up and they think that that's how women are. And women of today want more. And even young women of today want more. But I think too, you're seeing a lot of divorces in your 40s, 50s, and 60s. And my
Mhm.
husband said to me the other day something, I was mentioning that, and he's like, well, you would think after 40 years that you would just be like, you're good for the go, you're good for the long haul. I'm like, oh, no, 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 right?
Mhm.
No, it doesn't work that way. I'm not saying
No.
people should get divorced. I'm just saying that it doesn't, that's not where we want. When you get to be a woman in your 50s, you want more.
Mhm.
Hopefully you do, right? That's how you end up living a long, good life.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I wanted more. I wanted more from my relationship. I wanted more from my relationship with friends. I wanted more from my career. I wanted more from like my own body. What could my body do? I wanted more in everything.
I love it. And how did you find it?
I'm a personal growth junkie. I told
Well, tell
you.
us more, give us a little bit more about what that means.
So a lot of it really, I think a lot of it started for me. I've talked to you a little bit about family and systems constellation. And I think family and systems constellation. So I learned it from a woman who was, she's part native. And so her take on family and systems constellation was very much a ceremony, not a construct where the therapist said, here's your problem, here's what you're going to look at, and here's the outcome. So she really worked more in this. So I call it the knowing field, or this kind of universal life force energy. I know this gets kind of woo-woo, but that's where I live. Um, So it was really just family and systems constellation was a way of taking the story that, I mean, you just use me, but it's really for all of us, that I had been living, and putting it into this circle and seeing what really was true about the story and what the possibilities were if I stepped aside.
Hmm.
I don't know if that makes any sense.
I
Well,
think it's pretty deep for just a few minute conversation.
yeah.
Right? But
so
but I would imagine that, so tell us a little more. Go a little deeper.
So by doing a lot of constellation work, it really started to break apart sort of my own constructs that I'd been living by.
Which
And
was?
some of those constructs were my mom and my sister couldn't be happier with mediocre. Whatever comes is fine. Whatever their husbands think is okay. I mean, I genuinely see them happy with that. And so I kind of fell into that construct. And so that started to come apart. And not just come apart, but I also found places where I was supported. And that happened, honestly, Jean, with almost every aspect of my life, where those constructs really started to untangle. And I started to realize that I was really almost living someone else's story.
Mm,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Yeah. And so once I was able to step out of that, I could live my own story, my own life.
Yeah.
That was one of the ways that it happened.
Well, very cool. Now you've used a couple times when we've talked, you have used a phrase, coon something.
Kunyin.
Kunye. So
Uh-huh.
tell us what that is.
So Kunyin is this very transformational process that really engages the physical body through a series of movements that takes a woman out of all that hustle, bustle, busy, and really just drops her into the center of her own feminine power, where she can listen to her own voice.
Interesting.
Yeah. Instead of, we tend to, I mean, I think one of the things we do as women entrepreneurs, Gina, is we even tend to kind of live from that masculine, like almost like we don't know another way to be really successful in business. That's changing. That's changing rapidly recently. But I think for a lot of us, that's how we've done it. Do more, do more, do more. What's next? Burn the candle at both ends and all of that sort of stuff. And I think there are times when that's really important. You kind of have to do that to meet deadlines, but that's not really a place to engage life from.
Mm-mm. No, I agree with you.
So Kunyan just lets us step into this different possibility that's much softer and more feminine, and really ends up being far more powerful.
Wow. Is that what you're working with women on right now? Like these days?
It's part of a program. Yeah. Yeah. So my Soulful Solutions program really is very, very much geared towards moving women into really discovering what their real purpose and passion is. A lot of people talk about a dream, and a dream is nice. It's that little seed of possibility. But if you get too attached to the dream, the purpose and the passion won't take you to the right place.
Mm.
And so it's really working on that. And then Kunyan is definitely a part of that, to really embody it and be able to really drop into those places.
Oh, that's so cool. So I'm just going to ask you this. When you come to the Second Act conference,
Yeah.
what do you hope to get out of that?
I stink at systems, like having business systems in place. That's my downfall. I think when we got on here, I said I wasn't worried about the podcast. It was the technology.
Right.
It's that I do it and I engage in it a lot. Like I've gotten very comfortable and familiar with Zoom. Most of what I do is there. So it's that, and partly just when I have an idea. I mean, Jean, I can have an idea, a plan, and want to put it in place in 3 minutes. But I don't have those systems to really get it in place and get it out there. So it tends to take me quite a while.
Okay. Well, that's why I was wondering, because I was wondering what you wanted to get from the conference that you'll be able to take back and really skyrocket what you're doing there too.
Mhm.
So, and maybe marketing and leads and things like
Yeah,
that.
all of that's kind of tied into that for me.
Yeah. Well, good. Then you're going to be right in the right place
I'm
come.
excited. I can't wait.
I'm excited to have you come all the way. Listen, we have somebody coming from Washington State, which is Dort, and we have somebody coming from the East Coast, right? We literally are bringing people in from the entire country, right? A lot from the Midwest, and hopefully bits and pieces in between. So, Dort, so the way I like to end this is tell me what is the best piece of business information that you can share with another entrepreneur to encourage her, motivate her, and educate her so that she can get to where she wants to be in her second act.
Oh, I say stay the course.
Mm. You know, my assistant emailed me and she's like, "Have you read Dort's sheet?" And I'm like, "That was yesterday, and you just sent it in yesterday or the day before." And I'm like, "No, I haven't really been on email." So she said, "Read it. I cannot come up with a title. I don't know what, right?" So I read it this morning and I emailed her about 6 o'clock this morning and I emailed her back and I'm like, this is a woman who has spent a lifetime of listening, right? To create the woman she wants to be.
Mhm.
That's kind of what we chose for a title, right? I
Yeah,
think
that was
that was,
awesome.
yeah, oh, good, I'm glad because I'm
Okay.
glad because that was exactly what I felt when I was reading that. It's like you have been so involved in personal development, but listening to yourself too,
Mhm.
not to what others think that you should do. And I think that sometimes too, women, men, everybody gets into that place of listening to what mom or dad or grandpa or grandma or neighbor or friend says, and they
Mhm.
never really live the life that they want. And
Yeah.
I love the fact that you're living the life you want.
Yeah, I mean, I started this at 20.
Yeah. I
And
started personal development at about 26, 27, and I literally have been living the life I wanted since then.
yeah, I can't say that I have, but I've definitely been living the life that every step of the way got me right here.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. Thank you so much for sharing your milk crate moment today. I can't wait to see you next month and give you a hug. And you guys, you can reach out to Dort. Dort, should we share your email?
Sure.
Okay, let's do that. So let me, I'm going to share it here in the chat. So it's Dort at what? Whoops.
It's just Dort Pritchett at Yahoo.
Dort, Pritchett at, is there an E on the end of Pritchett?
At yahoo.com.
Is there,
What?
is there an
No, no.
E at yahoo.com? Listen, reach out to Dort, right? She's got a lot of great things to help women find their feminine power. And that's a thing, you guys. That is a real thing, your feminine power. So if
Mhm.
you feel like you might be a little low on the feminine power, and a little too much high on the testosterone, reach out to Dort, see what she has to offer you. Have a wonderful day. Thank you, Dort, so much. I'm so grateful that you asked answered when I asked if you'd be on my podcast.
Yeah, I'm all about yes, thank you.
I love that. All right, see you next month. Bye.